cannot be denied any longer that Harry and Meghan must have their titles stripped. Otherwise, the palace will face a serious problem as Harry and Meghan persist in behaving as though they represent the crown. Hello, friends. Welcome to the King YouTube channel. You know, folks, I keep on thinking that this whole situation with Prince Harry and Meghan Markle will calm down sooner rather than later. I keep on thinking to myself, surely nobody is this irrational. Surely nobody is this delusional to continue with the same behavior that has caused them so much trouble over the past few years. But it seems that Harry and Meghan truly are that foolish. They are indeed delusional. And instead of things settling down with the Sussexes, things are only becoming more chaotic. And this latest stunt is simply unacceptable. If King Charles doesn't take decisive action to rein in those two, I don't know what will happen next. They are completely out of control, and it seems like the palace is growing tired of Harry and Meghan's behavior. First, we have this article in the Telegraph. Prince Harry holds talks with First Nations chief over commitment to Canada's Indigenous people. The Duke of Sussex offers to resume discussions next year as he prepares to launch the Invictus Games Winter Tournament. Just reading the headline, my jaw dropped. Who does he think he is? What does he think he's doing? Harry is acting as if he represents his father's government, but he doesn't. Let's not forget, Harry and Meghan are just ordinary citizens at this point who happen to still hold on to their Duke and Duchess titles. Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense. And that's why people are insisting that the UK government and the King must take action. They need to strip Harry and Meghan of their titles, and it should have happened already. The truth is, Harry and Meghan have proven to be a threat to the monarchy. Sometimes they don't understand their place, and they simply don't care that they have no real power. They continue to act as if they are on official business and have the authority to make decisions, even though they don't. Unfortunately, many people don't realize this. So, let's start by examining this article detailing what Harry said to the First Nations chief, and then I'll share another article from the same newspaper. It was published just 90 minutes later and essentially contradicts Harry's claims. According to India McTaggart's article in the Telegraph, the Duke of Sussex has had discussions with the First Nations chief about the Crown's historic commitment to Canada's Indigenous people, expressing his hope for amicable relations. This is off topic, but I want to apologize if you can hear my little cat purring in the background. Ever since I returned from my trip with my family, she won't leave me alone. She insists on being right by my side at all times when I'm recording. I'm sure those of you who have cats understand. But anyway, let's get back to the news. So Harry was in Vancouver for an event promoting Invictus, and he mentioned that he hoped to learn more about Canada's reconciliation process. He said, our collective journey through truth and reconciliation is an important one for all of us. Funny, isn't it, Harry? Talking about reconciliation, is Harry really on a journey towards truth and reconciliation with his family? Is that what we're going to call it? Ugh. And who even talks like that? Meghan's habit of using word salads has really rubbed off on Harry. He sounds just like her, lots of words, lots of buzzwords, but no real meaning. And it seems like the chief Harry spoke to believes that Harry has some kind of power. He told the Sunday Telegraph that, well, a lot of politicians say it, but they don't mean it. Prince Harry has offered to resume discussions next year. How inappropriate for Harry to make such a promise. This is a promise he has no right to make because it's not his responsibility. Harry no longer represents the monarchy. He no longer represents the UK. He is completely undermining his father's government by making such a promise. In the past, this issue with the Indigenous people of Canada is something that King Charles has addressed. According to an article in the Telegraph from 2022, Prince Charles expressed being deeply moved by meeting survivors of the residential school scandal. He emphasized the importance of advancing reconciliation in Canada, stating, all leaders have shared with me the importance of advancing reconciliation in Canada. We all have a responsibility to listen, understand, act in ways that foster relationships between Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples in Canada. I know I've said it before, but I have to say it again. What is wrong with Harry? Sometimes his family could probably use his help. But no, he's never around when anyone really needs him. Instead, he's always offering to help when nobody has asked for his help. For example, the way he flew to the UK, supposedly to be with his father after the cancer diagnosis. I'm sure it was really just an attempt to get back on as a working royal. So luckily, of course, the palace told him, thanks, but no thanks, Harry. I think we've got it covered. When is Harry going to realize how absolutely useless he is? Actually, no, I shouldn't say useless. That's really an insult to useless people out there. Harry is worse than that. Harry's actions are damaging. His presence is not only unhelpful, but it's also harmful to whatever is happening and whoever is involved. So I guess the next Invictus Games are going to be hosted on First Nations land in British Columbia. This chief said, especially with the crown, with the reconciliation, it means a lot. The very first time I met Prince Harry, he said, I want to learn more about reconciliation. A lot of politicians will say it, yes, but they don't mean it. And now I have the opportunity in the next year to have those discussions with Prince Harry. I don't know about you all, but I just can't shake my feelings of shock about this. I mean, who does Harry think he is? Is he really this delusional? I guess so. This, though, is a bold move even for him. He noticed over the years, ever since he and Meghan quit their positions as working royals, they still love to do these pseudo royal tours. But this is the first I've heard of Harry actually making promises that he has no right to make, judging by the way this chief is speaking. I don't think he understands that Harry doesn't represent the royals anymore. He probably believes that Harry can actually make a difference in this reconciliation process, but he can't. So really, it's not only his family he's sticking it to by doing this, he's also disrespecting the First Nations people. So, according to this piece in the Telegraph, reconciliation is the ongoing process of establishing and maintaining respectful relationships with Indigenous peoples. But if you ask me, lying to their faces is not respectful. This is not Harry trying to be helpful. This is not him innocently wanting to do what's right. This is Harry being incredibly foolish and also dangerously irresponsible. In Canada, at a banquet, Harry told the guests these games have been so warmly welcomed by our 4 host First Nations who have opened their arms and land to each of us, not only tonight, but in the lead up to and during the games next year. From the bottom of my heart, I thank you. Your generosity is cherished. Our collective journey through truth and reconciliation is an important one for all of us. And as we come here to learn, my hope is we can depart and return as friends. Because he just can't help himself, can he? I mean, Harry can't get over the fact that he and Meghan willingly left their positions as working royals to become a couple of nobodies. He can't let go. He cannot let go of his status. And this is why we're going to continue to see this behavior from him time and time again until finally the titles are taken away. Or better yet, just exile him and take away that prince title too. While you're at it, he certainly doesn't deserve it. He has no respect for the monarchy, no respect for his home country, no respect for anybody, including himself, I would argue. So the First Nations chief who Harry made all these promises to is named Chief Sparrow, and he said, it's just stuff like that we can talk about with Harry because it was the commitment that the crown was going to look after us. A lot of those commitments fell by the wayside, but now there's an opportunity as we grow and move forward that we can still correct the wrongdoings and put them behind us. Well, I mean, again, clearly Harry did not do a very good job of making it clear that he and Meghan were only representing themselves as private citizens, that they were not representing the crown in any official capacity. If they had made that clear, I don't believe that Chief Sparrow would say something like that. Harry is in no position to make any promises about what the crown will or will not do. And that's not to say that the crown shouldn't help these people with reconciliation. That's not to say that King Charles doesn't have an interest in them. Of course he does. But still, nobody asked Harry to do this. Nobody ever would ask Harry to do this because, again, he's not a working royal. And it is perfectly acceptable for Harry to connect Invictus to this reconciliation with Indigenous communities. So when he first announced that the games were going to be held in partnership with the First Nations, Harry promised that it would be in the spirit of truth and reconciliation with Indigenous communities. Now, I don't see a big problem with that. I mean, I don't know. I think it's a little bit risky just because, again, this reconciliation. What does he mean by that? Does he mean reconciliation between the crown and the indigenous people? Again, he doesn't have any right to say that, but if he's just talking about in general that he's sensitive to their plight, he wants to respect them, he wants to support them in any way he can. All right, fine. I don't see a big problem with that, but that's not what Harry is saying. Harry has led this Chief Sparrow to believe that he somehow has the power to have discussions about reconciliation in the next year. And so that brings us to the second article that was published only 19 minutes after the first one. So with this one, we've got Hannah Furness writing, no working royal role for Prince Harry as Palace stands firm. Palace sources say there is no way back for the Duke of Sussex to step in and help his family carry out duties while King receives treatment. It doesn't take a genius to figure out exactly what has happened here. I mean, so this article comes out in the Telegraph and the Palace sees it. And then as quickly as they possibly can, they got to put out their own article, making it clear that Harry didn't know what he was talking about. Honestly, you know who Harry reminds me of. Have you all ever seen that old movie called Office Space? It's a comedy about these guys who work in an office. There's one character in there, Milton, and he's a funny character overall. Okay, anyway, they don't want Milton working there anymore. He's obsessed with a stapler, and they don't want to fire him outright. So they just stop paying him and move him to the basement. But poor Milton doesn't get it. He doesn't seem to understand that he's actually been fired. So he continues to show up to work every single day, not really doing much of anything. Honestly, that reminds me of Harry. Harry really is like some completely insane, unhinged ex-employee who just can't give it up, can't stop showing up to work even though he's not needed, and perhaps even worse than being not needed, not wanted. So in this piece, we are reminded about how recently Harry made it clear that he is perfectly willing to accept some royal duties while his father is ill. And Meghan too. I mean, they could really be like, I don't know, half and half out royals lie dream come true for the Sussex, but according to Palace sources, it ain't gonna happen. So you'll remember that source who allegedly is friends with Harry claiming that Harry had told them that he would be willing to step back into a royal role, and an insider claim that it made perfect sense on a practical level. I mean, perfect sense to who Harry and Meghan, nobody else according to sources. The 12-minute or so meeting that Harry had with his father did not involve any kinds of discussions about Harry returning to any type of royal role. According to Hannah Furness in the Telegraph, it is understood that the matter was not discussed in that meeting at which the Queen was present, with no formal conversations taking place about the Duke's return. Palace sources have emphasized that the King's illness will not change the terms of the Sandringham Summit Agreement, in which the Duke and Duchess of Sussex exit from the working royal family was negotiated in detail. Well, of course, nothing is going to change about that agreement. I mean, Harry and Meghan are out of their minds if they think that something's going to change just because they wanted to. The rules were made very clear to them in that meeting. They were told what they were going to lose, what they were going to give up, and they agreed to it. And they were told that, no, you can't just come back on whenever you want to. Sure, that was also made very clear to them, but those idiots just believe they can change things willy-nilly to suit them. It's never going to work. I mean, again, this isn't even up to the king. Even if the king had a weak moment and agreed to, I don't know, let Harry and Meghan back in on some type of trial basis. Prince William is never going to stand for it, and I don't think the palace will either, and certainly not Queen Camilla. Indeed, the source says those terms are quite clear and the king's illness hasn't altered that. And then another confirmed that the views of the late Queen, the King, and the Prince of Wales that a hybrid model of working royalty was not appropriate remains the case. Now, Harry did an interview with Good Morning America this week, and he said that his own family is now based in California, but he went on to say, I've got other trips planned that would take me through or back to the UK. So I'll stop and see my family as much as I can. Oh, I'm guessing the family wasn't too happy to hear that news. The thing is, at this point in time, Harry just wants to act like everything's okay, like nothing ever happened. It's like this rift was just all for nothing. But the royals are not seeing it that way. Of course not. They're not going to be so quick to forgive. And I don't blame them. They shouldn't be. And as far as we know, Harry still hasn't apologized, and I'm sure he hasn't actually, because I don't believe that he would privately apologize. I think he and Meghan, as always, would make it into this big public spectacle to get themselves some sweet, sweet PR. Now, those of you who regularly follow my channel, you know that I'm a big fan of forgiveness. I really do believe in it in my personal life. I believe in forgiving people for all kinds of transgressions. And I think in the case of Prince Harry and his family, yes, forgiveness is appropriate. But again, he has to show remorse first. Harry has to show that he's not just going to do the same thing over and over again. But so far, there are no indications of that. If the royals were to let Harry and Meghan back in without any kind of formal apology, without any kind of promises to change their behavior, we would see exactly the same thing. So that'd be all wired up. There'd be eavesdropping. Meghan would be sneaking around taking pictures of places she shouldn't, and then they would sell all that information to the highest. So until the royal family can feel safe that they're not going to be betrayed, of course they're not going to let Harry back in. And furthermore, if Harry continues to go around disrespecting his family, disrespecting the monarchy as a whole, by pretending that he and Meghan are somehow representing the crown, he's going to find his relationship with his family is going to get a whole lot worse. And I predict that sooner or later, those titles are finally going to be stripped. I think if nothing else, when William becomes king, which sadly I'm not going to really go there, but sadly it may happen sooner than we expected, Harry and Meghan are done. So they better be very careful what their next move. Now, I don't believe there's any way back for Harry as a working royal, but if he wants to hold on to that Duke title, if he wants to hold on to that Prince title, and if he wants any hope whatsoever of having a relationship with his family in the future, he has got to stop this. He's got to remember that he and Meghan willingly gave up their positions as working royals. They do not represent anybody but themselves. All right, my friends, and now for a little discussion time. So, today we're going to be talking about the responses that you left to the video. What the hell are they smoking? Harry's plot to return to a royal role while the king is ill. In this video, we were talking, well, basically about the same thing we're discussing here, that Harry is so delusional, so completely out of his mind that he believes there is now room for him as a working royal in his family. Now, in this video, I presented the theory that perhaps Harry's brain is just so destroyed from all the drug use, and Meghan's too. Let's see what you all had to say. First comment comes to us from Anna Paula in Canada. Anna Paula writes, I almost can't believe Harry's audacity. Harry is clearly not concerned about the king's health. Harry is more concerned with his sense of entitlement and shamelessly sticking himself like a leech to the British monarchy. Harry should be ashamed once again. He shows his true colors. It is sad, isn't it? I was hopeful. I was really rooting for him, actually. I thought, all right, here was the perfect opportunity for Harry to show that he does feel remorse, that he realizes that he was wrong, that he and Meghan were wrong time and time again, really over the past few years. Somehow, instead, the two of them are digging their heels in and continuing to do more of the same. I think you're right. I mean, Harry is showing us who he really is, and he's not a very nice person, is he? Next up, a comment from a user called Amelia. Amelia writes on my side of the world, lemon is used for something not serious, full of gossip, lightweight, not to be trusted. Often we call someone lemon who is either very naive, not real, or being a joke. I don't know what's going to happen when they finally split. I mean, honestly, I thought it was going to happen soon. But now, with all this new stuff we've been seeing from the two of them, it looks like Meghan still has him wrapped all around her little finger. Now, as for the children, okay, so Invisat was born in the US, so of course she is an American citizen by birth. As for artificial, well, I would assume that he has dual citizenship. I mean, he was born in Britain, so I'm sure that he is a British citizen, and maybe they got him the American citizenship when they moved, or maybe at birth, because since his mother is American, well, his pretend mother is American, of course he would be entitled to American citizenship. And as for the invisible girl, I mean, who knows? Honestly, I know that we saw that birth certificate recently, which makes it look like she is a real person, but I'm still thinking there's something very strange about her. There's something that doesn't add up. I don't believe that she came from Meghan's body. I don't believe Archie did either. But as for her citizenship, honestly, I can't even guess. I have so many other questions about her, like number one, does she even live with them? So I think I'm going to save that citizenship question for later. All right, my friends, thank you to everybody who left comments. I'm sorry I didn't have time to read all of them, so I want to know, what do you all think about Harry walking around acting like he still represents the crown? Do you think that he's going to get the title stripped, or is King Charles going to allow him to continue to behave like this? Please let me know what you think below in the comment section. If you enjoyed this video, please do like and share it with anybody else who would appreciate it. And as always, if you haven't already, don't forget to click that subscribe button so that you don't miss a single update. From the King YouTube channel, thank you so much for tuning in. You have a lovely day, and I'll be back to see you in the next videos.